And welcome back to another video on the Wrestling and an edition of AEW Dynamite out of 10, where it's Dynamite and Collision, another 4-hour block, this one Summer Blockbuster, and yeah, some big matches on the card really, and yeah, to be honest, there's none bigger than the match that we started things off with, and that was Swerve Strickland versus Will Ospreay. So yeah, we kicked things off with that, and Swerve had Ospreay on the ropes, setting him up for an apron Swerve stomp. However, the 30-time limit hit before he could land it. The Mogul demanded a sudden death finish, but the Death Riders interrupted. They distracted Swerve to allow a Young Buck sneak attack. They handcuffed Swerve for a series of super kicks and pulled out his custom boots with thumbtacks. Ospreay took the super kick for Swerve before an official came to check on the aerial assassin. This was an incredible opener. Swerve went after the arm of Ospreay while the aerial assassin injured the leg of the Mogul. They tested each other and built pace to a furious high that nearly reached its climax, only to be paused by the time there. It was the right call to sell an eventual third bout on the major stage down the line. For now, they earned the respect once again. Might to set up a match against the Bucks. The final big shot of Ospreay taking the fall and protect Swerve was a memorable match to set up another huge match at All In. So yeah, 8 out of 10. This is great stuff. Before we got Mystico versus Blake Johnson, and yeah, Mystico had Blake Christian on the ropes, ropes throughout a brief interruption from Lee Johnson that almost cost the match. He hit a Spanish 5 for the win. Afterwards, MJF came out to challenge Príncipe de Pataguayoro and reveal he was bringing the red, white and blue for the match. Mystico warned MJF in Spanish that he would not beat him in Arena Mexico before the Hurt Syndicate struck. Speedball, Kevin Knight and Dorado made the save. This was a match to the match, especially by AEW standards. The goal was to give Mystico the win and set up for that huge match. I think they did it well. So yeah, good stuff. 5 out of 10. Moving on into the Hurt Syndicate versus Speedball, Mike Bailey, Kevin Knight and Mascara Dorado. Dorado was a late substitute to help the babyfaces after a backstage attack on Commander, but looked right at home in wild action. After the high-flying trio had taken out Lashley and Shelton Benjamin, FMVP caught up Speedball with his cane to set out the hammerlock DDT to MJF for the win. Afterwards, Salterverse continued the disrespect, ripping off Dorado's mask. Mystico made to save an MJF tap out to the Mystico. This was a fun trios match that showed what the Hurt Syndicate could do with Speedball and Kevin Knight down the line with more stakes. It also has another showcase of Dorado, who's done a really great job. MJF needed this win to set him up as a threat to Mystico, while Bailey and Knight can earn their way towards the title. So yeah, I thought on all ways it worked quite well, this one. 6 out of 10. The Death Riders dragged Hangman Page out of the ring with hands bound and mouth gagged with duct tape. John Mox explained that he did have the Cowboys' complete focus and advised him to find whatever he's still searching for before All In to give him the best shot with the world title on the line. The Ops then made the run in to save Hangman, who warned the Death Riders that he would take the head of the first Death Rider he found on Wednesday night. Short and sweet, this worked perfectly fine as the next step in the build to the world title clash. While the Ops took a little too long to make the save, their logic of the statement was sound overall following the overall injury to Will Ospreay. If pace continues like this, AEW may be able to hold on to All In with a true Great Mic battle. Before we got TJ versus Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford, and Jay and Mello looked confident as they have done together. This allowed them to get one up on their opponents. After Ford tagged in, Anna caught the Mega Sis with a Queen Slayer, while Tay hit the TKO in the ring for the victory. This was a good tag match, helped by Tay working at a higher level as she ever has done. It looked like she's got better in her time away. Bane remains heavily protected, which is right. TJ survived by isolating Ford. The next time could go either way. The feud, has definitely kept the women's division alive, and potentially we could get new titles maybe introduced at All In. 6 out of 10, I'll say. And speaking of new titles, Omega and Okada shook hands after signing the contract for their match for the newly unveiled AEW Unified title. Don Callis interrupted as a distraction for the Rainmaker to attack the cleaner from behind. Okada used a steel baton to strike his rival's abdomen. Christopher Daniels tried to restore order as a stretcher was set up for Omega. Okada hit Omega with a elbow drop off the apron. And yeah, did the Rainmaker need to join Don Callis' family? No, but Callis has been involved with this feud many times over the years. Whether this is a formal stable change or not, it's incredibly effective given the past. This makes the cleaner look as vulnerable as he ever has been, setting the stage for a true babyface performance. It could well be the biggest match at All In, and beyond that, the new title really looks gorgeous. So yeah, it makes sense with the Continental and International Championship set to be unified. So yeah, this was really good stuff. We then got Carl Fletcher versus Anthony Bowens. Bowens was rolling until Lance Archer threw Billy Gunn into the barricade. The distraction allowed the Proto Star to hit a sheer drop brainbuster for the win. This was the biggest singles match for the Pride of Pro Wrestling since his revamp. It looked like he consistently had the Proto Star on the back foot. This is not surprising with how good Fletcher has become. It's a shame that it was another predictable loss for the Pride of Pro Wrestling though. Bowens has shown that he can hang with multiple high-level stars, but he's not winning these matches. His momentum is slowing and he does not have a clear rival. It's time to give the Pride of Pro Wrestling clear rival who can help build him in the ring and on the mic in the future. But I still thought it's good for what it was. 7 out of 10. Before Carlos Cabrera tried to interview Atlantis with his son Atlantis Jr., but FTR and Stokely interrupted. Dax and Cash tried to mock the legend and his boy, but Atlantis was not having it. A brawl broke out that led to Cole, the Don Callis family, and Brody King getting involved. The brawl between Harwood and Atlantis continued through the crowd while everyone else backed off. This is a great follow-up to FTR's recent interaction with Atlantis Jr. It's a shame that it will not lead to Atlantis stepping in the ring just based on the tease, but perhaps AEW has bigger plans for this FTR angle for All In. AEW's done significant work in making a big deal out of Atlantis Jr., but rarely showcases legendary father. Cabrera did a great job selling his legacy. The chaos showed how wild the balance of the locker room has become, particularly just how big the Don Callis family are, and they can sustain an 8-tag match like this, which it's pretty insane. Before we got Timeless Tony Storm versus Julia Hart. Hart and Sky Blue attacked Storm before the match could even bring. Referee Aubrey Edwards threw out Blue while officials checked on the Timeless one. While Hart and Storm on the ropes threw out, the Timeless one caught up with a large package for the victory. Storm was still hurting after the result as Mercedes Moné entered the ring. She gave Storm a sniff before whispering in her ear and laying her out. Mina Shirakawa tried to make the save, but the CEO laid them both out. This was a predictable match, but a solid effort from all involved. Particularly it's all about Hart, who dominated the action after the pre-match beatdown. Storm had to win, but Hart looked great in defeat. Her heel run is working well for so far in elevating her in the ring. Hopefully this will be the last lot Hart and Blue have to suffer, as they need credibility rebuild, particularly with the women's division going. Storm and have teased physicality so far, but the CEO finally got the upper hand, and Storm will no doubt answer back next week. So on the whole, all good stuff. 6 out of 10 from me. Next up, we got the Conglomeration versus MXM Collection and Taya Valkyrie. And in an unofficial Conglomeration reunion, it was Ishii and Briscoe teaming with Willow in a wild conflict with Madam Mansoor and Valkyrie. After clearing the ring, Willow hit Taya with a babe with the bomb for the win. This was a simple fun squash to keep Willow rolling on TV while she waits for her next big match opportunity. It feels like she and Chris are still waiting for some kind of payoff, but AEW has taken it slower than expected with both of them. The Conglomeration may not be back yet, but it just feels like right for the group to work like this. More XM Collection as well on TV would be great. But for what it was, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. We then got Bandido, who found a dangerous challenger in the Beast Mortos. He pushed him to his limit. However, the RH World Champion sealed the win with the Revolution Fly. This was a fun Lucha Libre preview ahead of Grand Slam Mexico. Beast Mortos and Bandido always deliver, so it's no surprise that they brought it together. It was a surprise to not see LFI represented beyond Mortos, but AEW may still be uncertain if they can get Rush and Jalisco in Arena Mexico. It is a shame that Bandido will not be defending his ROH Championship at Grand Slam, but hopefully that show will give a greater clarity for the direction going into Supercard of Honor and All In. Before we then got Thekla taking on Queen Aminata, and Thekla struggled too early to figure out Queen Aminata, taking a careful approach to lure her into a mistake. The Toxic Spider managed to find that opening when it mattered most. The Spider walk into a spear and the Death Trap forced submission. It's too rare to see a wrestler with a style that's so defined it stands out from everyone else, and that is Thekla. Her careful technical approach is different from anyone else. It leads to a more measured pace with explosions of action like in this contest. Aminata took advantage of the pace by making it every hard. The two understood the assignment as Aminata was looking to squash the Spider that kept using her tire and wear her down. It felt like Thekla was bringing the best out of Aminata throughout, always giving her too much, and by the end it was looking like the Toxic Spider might struggle to come back. That's a match that AEW could revisit down the line for sure. 7 out of 10. Before it was time for the Don Callis family versus Daniel Garcia in the Paragon. Arch made the biggest impact in this contest as he saved his teammates throughout. He caught Daniel Garcia with a boot to set up a suplex by Josh Alexander to win. This was a solid match to the night that made more of an impact than last week. In particular, Murder Heart Monster was a force of nature, saving the day throughout. Alexander picked up a nice win to keep his momentum going as he needs to keep the spotlight on him strong in the midst of the Giants going stable. It felt like the biggest story of this feud right now is still Fletcher v Cole, but they have not interacted recently. Beyond that, the TNT Championship match to come, Garcia feels a bit lost and could do with a strong foundation. Weekly match like this are okay, but they just feel like filler for a main event start. It's still fun. 7 out of 10. And overall, Dynamite gets a 6 out of 10 from me. I thought, another really long period. For me, I'd say it's probably better than last week. Still feel like, this amount of time is long for an AEW show, but I thought most of the action that we got on here was pretty solid enough. So I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. That's it for this video. Thanks very much for watching. Remember to like, share, subscribe. Follow us on our socials. Link in the description below for daily wrestling news, meme and content. Subscribe to our other channels on screen right now. That'd be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Peace out.